Welcome to Travel with Sean. I'm Sean. Today we are in the Hanseatic city of Stralsund, Germany. The Hanseatic city of Stralsund had been a Slavic settlement for centuries, when in 1234 a Slavic prince who claimed authority over this settlement granted it Lubeck law, making it the oldest city in Pomerania, which is the Baltic coast of Germany and Poland. Its name comes from the Slavic word Strahl, meaning arrow, and the German word Sund, meaning straight or sound, as in a body of water. Stralsund's Old Town is a UNESCO World Heritage Site because of its outstanding brick Gothic buildings and its importance during the Hanseatic League and Swedish rule. This house is a fine example of Hanseatic architecture. Nearby it, Kniepertor was named after a 13th century family and is one of only two of the city's medieval gates to survive. It was built around the end of the 13th century, and it was at this gate in 1628 that Stralsund, with the help of Denmark and Sweden, defeated the Holy Roman Empire during the 30 Years' War, resulting in it becoming part of Sweden's Duchy of Pomerania. This plaque commemorates the date, May 31, 1809, that Napoleon's troops occupying the city executed a Swedish military officer while this was still part of Sweden. This yellow half-timbered house was likely built in the 16th or 17th century. The Commandant's house, near Kniepertor, was built during the period when the city's fortifications were modernized under Swedish rule, and it served as a residence of the officer in charge of the nearby defenses until a bigger and better house was built at Alter Markt. These buildings near Kniepertor used to serve as watchtowers in the city wall. Upon entering the city from Kniepertor, you're right away confronted with some beautiful homes and various buildings of Hanseatic architecture. And this street, Knieperstrasse, leads you right to Alter Markt, the old market square, and St. Nicholas Church. The monastery of St. Anne and St. Bridget was established in about 1470 when the city's mayor donated a house for the Augustinian nuns to use as a chapel. The current chapel was built in 1560 when their needs outgrew the previous one. These walls, which are now part of an underground parking ramp, are all that's left of a 14th century Cistercian monastery called the Hidden Sea Monastery. After the Protestant Reformation, the monastery fell into disrepair and became a source of building material for other projects around the city. This building from 1717 served as the town magazine, which is where they stored their ammunition and or gunpowder. Alter Markt, the old market square in English, has witnessed a lot of Stralsund's history. The area was settled around 1200 by German merchants who came to the Slavic settlement. From the very beginning, the market served as a place of execution and court. This is also where the city's official guests and its victorious conquerors were welcomed. In 1989, demonstrations took place here that contributed to an end of the German separation of East and West. Alter Markt has always been a very prominent location, and that's where we find Wolfram House, a typical merchant home from the Gothic period. Built prior to 1358, it forms a smaller mirror image of the city hall's facade. Here you can see some of the houses adjacent to Wolfram House on the street leading away from Alter Markt. The old market is rich in Hanseatic architecture. The old market square is still a market square where merchants come, set up booths to sell their goods. The Commandant's House at Alter Markt served as the official city residence of the Swedish military commander overseeing Stralsund's fortifications and garrison. It bears a coat of arms of Swedish Pomerania. It was built in the mid-18th century to replace a smaller one from the Middle Ages that commanders complained was too small. Rathaus Stralsund, which is the Stralsund City Hall, was built sometime before 1271 and is perhaps the most impressive building in Alter Markt. Added in 1881, the front facade sports the city coats of arms of the Hanseatic cities of Hamburg, Lübeck, Wismar, Stralsund, and Greifswald. The facade's intricate design and towering gables make it a significant architectural highlight, reflecting the wealth and importance of the Hanseatic city during the medieval period. St. Nicholas Church stands behind the City Hall and is the oldest of the three large Protestant churches in the city. Dedicated to St. Nicholas of Myra, the patron saint of sailors and traders, it was built over the course of about 100 years, beginning in 1270. In what has been called the church breaking of 1525, Protestant reformers stormed the church, destroying and stealing a lot of church property. Those looted items that were recovered were found buried in the yard of a local monastery at the behest of the mayor. He said it was so that no more idolatry and abuse would be carried out with them. So unfortunately, this church lost a lot of historic property from the 13th and 14th centuries, but it is still quite beautiful, and they still have a lot of artwork, etc., from the 15th century on, and even a few from the 14th century. Even the pews are artistically designed. Some people sit in pew boxes, while in the middle of the church they have pews with individual seats and a wooden floor. This elevated pew box is often referred to as the ducal pew, reserved for the Swedish Duke and Duchess of Pomerania, from the 1630s until the early 1800s. It prominently displays the coat of arms of the Swedish Duchy of Pomerania. Built in the beginning of the 14th century, the high altar stands about 32 feet high and contains over 100 carved figures. Just below the cross ahead of us is the rood screen, which is a structure commonly found in medieval churches. These screens were traditionally used to separate the altar area, which is considered the holiest part of the church, to separate it from the main congregation space. I think the symbols found on these church columns resembles the Old Norse language, but I was told by someone in the church that actually they represent the various trade groups that were present in the Middle Ages. These pews here are the shopkeepers' pews. They date back to about 1574. And this altar is, of course, the shopkeeper's altar, displaying the crucifixion of Jesus. It dates back to about 1500. While the center is of the crucifixion, the sides are of other scenes from the Passion of Christ. These pews are the city council pews dating from 1652. And on top of them is the mayor's coat of arms. This chapel belonged to a knight of the Order of Vasa, a Swedish order of chivalry founded in 1772 by Gustav III, King of Sweden. The mayor's altar was built and donated around the year 1500. This altar was donated by the Leather Workers and Bag Makers Guild in about 1450. Before the Reformation, St. Nicholas Church had 57 altars that were donated by tradesmen guilds and individual families. The statue of Jesus carrying the cross is from about the year 1400, which is also when this painting of Jesus on the cross was made. These medieval relief panels are from 1370. The left one shows a hunting scene from that era, while the right one shows Hanseatic merchants. This beautiful altar is the oldest one in the church, built sometime before 1280. Stralsund's astronomical clock was completed in 1394. It is the oldest, almost completely preserved astronomical clock in the Baltic region, and also is the oldest mechanical clock in the world that still contains its original gears. The pulpit of St. Nicholas Church was constructed in 1574. It rests on the shoulders of a statue of Moses carrying the two tablets. Its design features intricate carvings of angels, prophets, and others with gilded details, reflecting the artistic styles of the late Renaissance period. St. James Church, or Jakobkerk, was first mentioned in records in 1303, making it younger than St. Nicholas Church. The church building survived the 30 Years' War, only to lose its spire, roof, and bells in 1662 due to a fire caused by a lightning strike. The church sustained heavy damage from a 1944 Allied air raid, and looting at the end of World War II caused further damage. For example, pipes from the pipe organ were stolen, and the pews were burned for heating. Now we've come to Neumarkt, or New Market. It's called that because it was created after Alter Markt. Many people come to this market square to have a beer, to have a coffee, a bite to eat, or maybe to use the restroom, which costs 50 cents euro per person. Marienkerk, or St. Mary's Church, is the youngest of the three churches in the city, being built in the 15th century. It was the tallest church in the world from 1549 to 1569, and again from 1573 to 1647. During the early 1800s French occupation, the church served as a barracks for Napoleon's army. Here we come to the Duke's Pew, built in 1667 for the Duke and Duchess of Swedish Pomerania, of which Stralsund was a part. Built in 1906, this is the last organ made by Barnum Grüneberg before his death the following year. The Stellwagen organ, built in the mid-1600s, is one of the most famous large Baroque organs in Europe because of its extensive component preservation. The top of a pulpit is called the sounding board, and the one in this church looks a lot like a church's steeple. Makes me wonder if it was modeled after the steeple that collapsed in the 1600s. Just outside of Marienkirk, between it and Neumarkt, is a memorial for Soviet soldiers who died in the final stages of World War II or died from wounds shortly thereafter. There are individual stones listing the names of each of the deceased. You see the red Soviet star on the stones, and the names are written in Russian. While some Soviet war memorials in Germany mark actual graves, this one does not. This is Kniepertor, one of two remaining city gates in Stralsund. Its name originates from the word Küter, which refers to butchers or slaughterers in medieval German. The Kniepertor was historically associated with the Butchers' Guild, or the area where the slaughterhouses were located. These are the remains of Stralsund's 13th century city walls. Hospitaltor, or Hospital Gate, was here, but torn down in 1881 because it was no longer needed. Thank you for watching. Thank you for traveling along with me. As always, I appreciate your support. Until next time, tschüss, auf Wiedersehen, bye bye.